All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Netsertive's Fitness, Beauty, and Wellness Franchise Summit. Today is part 2, and we've got Lumin Fitness, Mayweather Boxing, Sola Salons, Stretch Zone, and Massage LuXE. I will go ahead and for those of you who might not know me, my name's Madeline Park. Or Zook, I guess that's my new married name. I'm not used to saying that. Multi-unit, multi-brand franchisee in home services, was formerly a franchisor with Threshold Brands, director of marketing here at Netsertive. So really run the gauntlet between supplier, franchisee, and franchisor, which is why I'm so invested in making these kind of educational summits and classes for everyone, because I think it's extremely important that brands talk to one another and franchise candidates get even a more in-depth look at franchising other than just, what they're seeing in the franchise development process. And it wouldn't be a summit without our beauty slide. So Netsertive does localized digital marketing, consumer and fran dev, everything paid you can imagine. We've got, I'm sure, some familiar brands you see here on the left. So if you ever had any questions with localized marketing, go ahead and ping us. All right, so we will get started today. We're going to start off with Dan Collins. Dan is the VP of Franchise Development at Stretch Zone. They've got over 300 locations. And Dan, I'm going to go ahead and let you talk about your history first. How did you come to Stretch Zone? You kind of gave me the overview last week, and I was simply amazed. So go ahead and kind of tell the people who you are.
Sure. Well, I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on. So Dan Collins, I'm Vice President of Franchise Development for a little over 2 years here at Stretch Zone. I've been in the industry my entire career. I've only done franchising, spent the first half in restaurant franchising and in operations, and then made the move to consulting about 13 years ago. And what I would do is go around the country and help people that were either franchising already and not having fun, their franchisees were upset, or people that wanted to franchise. I would go and help them get it started. And basically, the thing that I'm concerned with is, can the franchisees make money at this? That was the question I would ask them all the time. And half of the franchisors told me, oh, absolutely, they can make this much after royalties. And I was like, that would be amazing. Show me. And nobody came close to the number they claimed. And then the other half would tell me, I don't know, it's a cool concept, but I don't know if it makes money yet. The one I have doesn't make any money, but the one I'm in my head, that one makes money. And obviously, it was a bit humorous to me, but it's a concern. You can't just sell the sizzle. Yeah, this has to be profitable for franchisees. So that was my focus for the last 13 years. And then I got a call from an industry friend that asked me to come and meet with Stretch Zone. And I came down, had a 5-hour lunch with them, and had a great time, loved the people, but turned down the job for a couple different reasons. And the one thing I loved about them, though, is when I told them this industry is all about franchisee success, that's the engine that makes the whole thing happen. If you have franchisee success, you don't have to spend a dime on advertising. Your phone just rings. Your franchisees are going to be screaming praises out there. And they were finishing my sentences, and it made it so easy that I thought they were lying to me. And it took me 6 weeks to finally believe them enough to start considering this. And now, like I said, I'm here over 2 years. Everything they said was true. We're all about franchisee success and profitability, making it easy. We have 300, and as of yesterday, 311 open across the country. And we've yet to have one failure, and I'm trying my darndest to keep that streak alive. The way that I'm contributing to that is, number one, I consider myself a filter of who gets into the brand. And I really don't have, of course, financial requirements and how much liquid you need and all that. But to me, I have three qualifications for franchisees. Number one, you have to be super passionate about what we're doing and helping people and bringing their community. Number two, you have to be financially capable of doing it. And then number three is, I have to think we're going to have a good time doing this together, because, I've been doing this for a long time. I figure I got 10 years left, and I'm going to spend it with Stretch Zone. I want to make sure I don't set myself up for headaches in the future. I want franchisees that are going to follow the system we have. It's so simple. Again, I came from the restaurant business. first thing I thought when I got here is, man, I've been working way too hard. So I want franchisees that can just follow the process. It's so simple. And franchisees that do that are very successful. In fact, they tend to buy out franchisees who don't follow the process, because if you don't follow the process, it's a headache. If you follow the process, this is so easy. People get up off the table and thank you after you stretch them. It's awesome. It's really great to know that we're helping people every half hour, because I always used to say in the restaurant business, felt like I was kind of making kids fat. I was selling pizza, burgers, mac and cheese, ice cream, and I always kind of felt bad about that because I work out 6 days a week, and I'm just trying not to be fat. So now knowing that we're contributing to the health of people is so great, and I love it. It's such a good fit for me.
So talk to me a little bit about this, I would say the stretch industry, because this is relatively new. And I've
Sure.
heard a lot of people say, oh, what a money maker. This is just a fad. This is trendy. But like you
Right.
said, people are getting off the table and thanking you. And I went to a stretch zone recently because I met with you, and it was wonderful. It was a nice mix between, the massage and the physical therapy, the mandated, I was an athlete.
Sure.
And it was wonderful. But in terms of the industry, I know we talked, you're having franchise development candidates knock on your door, which is very rare to see that outside of, major brands like Dunkin', McDonald's, Unleashed. So, what is it about this industry that makes it so appealing to not only new candidates, but your current franchisees that are consistently wanting to expand?
Sure. Well, number one, I think to talk about the stretching part of the industry. We were the first and we're the largest. Jordan, our founder, Jordan Gold, started this back in the late 90s working on his grandfather. And he basically helped his grandfather get out of bed because he was bedridden, and kind of get him ready to check out, all the way up through walkers and canes to dancing at his granddaughter's wedding. So that's when it hit him that, wow, I really need to do this. So he incorporated this in 2004. And then he was doing all kinds of licensing deals and personal stretching. But really, the first studio here opened in 2015 down in South Florida. And then we sold the first prize in 2017. So that's kind of our path. And now since 2017, we got up now to 311 locations open. It's really not important to us how many we have sold, other than, of course, I can't sell the same area again. For us, we don't count it as a deal until the studio's up and open. That's where we count success. So you'll never see us advertising, 500 sold or 300 or 4,000 in development. We don't do that. We have this many open, and these are the success stories of our franchisees. That's what we advertise. Then I think why it's really kind of sticky in the industry. Number one, it's complementary to all my other panelists' business. Anything you do physically, this is going to help you do that. We're really big with golfers, tennis players. Pickleball is huge for us, of course. Senior citizens, and then hardcore athletes. So we're good with the CrossFitters, mud runners, triathletes. So those guys obviously use it for a different reason than the senior citizens. Senior citizens just want to be able to get off the couch or get on the ground, play with their grandkids, and get back up again, or put on their own shoes and socks. We have people literally that come in and haven't put on their own shoes and socks in 5 years. And then pretty soon, after like a month or two, they come in beaming, big smile, and they got these big white sneakers with the laces all laced up, and it's the first time they put their sneakers on, and they can't wait to show our stretch practitioner. So it is exciting and fun. And I've told that story a bunch of times, and it still makes the hair on my arm stand up when I do it, because it's cool to know that you're touching someone like that, Other thing in the industry is everybody knows you're supposed to stretch. Nobody does it. You get it to the gym, you do that 45-minute workout, you stretch for 45 seconds, and then you're on your cell phone, and then you're like, I got things to do and I got to get out of here. Well, this is completely different. Number one, we have a patented strapping system. You lay on that table, we strap you down just to secure you on that table so you can relax. Being relaxed is the very important part for us, because our stretch practitioners are actively stretching your relaxed muscles. That's what's making the difference in people's lives. That's what's getting people to come in with 2 months with a cane and then get rid of the cane for the third month. So that's really something that people keep coming back. When franchisees open their doors, they used to come in and buy one location, and then they'll get it up and open. And you guys all know, all my panelists know, franchisees are very excited when they write the check in the beginning or do the wire transfer now. And then they're nervous all the way until it opens. And then they're excited again when the doors open and people are lining up to do this. So my goal is to shorten the amount of nervous time. So we've got people to help you find real estate. We got all the marketing set up for you. We've got store opening specialists that walk you through from the day you walk in until the day you open your doors. So we try to make that as short as possible. And we're typically open in probably 90 days after you sign your agreement. And now franchisees, they would call back immediately and buy 3 or 5 more. Now people are coming in and just buying 3, 5, 8. Last month I sold a 12 pack. So franchisees are coming in and buying a bunch at a time because they see the simplicity of it. We get a lot of franchisees from other concepts, especially a lot of multi-unit restaurant people come in, and when they realize, like I did, how simple this is in relation to that, they're like, I can run 10 of these things easier than my one whatever pizza place, and it seems to be true. So it's a lot of fun. I hope I answered your question and all.
No, you did. And I have my brother-in-law is one of those like hard CrossFit people, and he was like, oh, those stretch zones, those are just for people that can't hold themselves accountable. And I'm like, yeah, I'm one of them. Like at the end of the night, I'm not gonna go and lay on my floor and stretch for 3 hours. Like I'm gonna have a beer and fall asleep to some trashy Netflix show. So as much as you might say, oh, it's a fad, it's this and that, at some point you have to lean into people being people. And this is one of those things. This is how people can hold themselves accountable. And I think that that's really great, and a good way to justify maybe someone saying, well, stretching, shouldn't I just go full fitness instead of just stretching? And I really like the simplicity of it. So Dan, we'll be back to you soon. Now I want to talk to Don Weiss, who is the CMO of Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, has a very long history in the health and wellness space. Don, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I always get like a little nervous about like long history because that means everybody starts to figure out how old you are. Like I've been doing this a really long time. I'm OG. I was excited to be to participate and to be invited to participate because there are some really great faces on this call that I've crossed paths with. Lori and I have worked together in a past life at Massage Envy. I think she was like, you were like second or third gen coming in, but I was on the founding team of Massage Envy, and that's when I kicked off my career in franchising. Um, I would say that I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And like Dan, I really wanted to understand and kind of rip apart all facets of the business in order to build what I thought needed to be a sustainable brand, and kind of came to that same path that he did around people feel good when they've had a massage. A lot of people understood the benefits of it, but at the end of the day, they just felt better. And the people that were working on our guests also felt better treating people, right, making them feel better than they were when they walked in. And I thought that that was a really great business to be in, right, where people feel good. But on the other side of it, there were a lot of business owners that were like corporate expats that came into it, first time franchise owners, and a great responsibility to build a brand that would sustain and that would be worthwhile of the family money that they put into, right, people mortgaging their homes just before the market crashed in 2008. That business, when I started, we were in at about 2005. So smooth sailing until we got to that. And we saw how many people invested into self-care during that time, right? That was not something that they were willing to part with because it was a great stress relief. And so to me, it seemed advantageous to be on the wellness side. I continued when I was at Massage Envy. I was there from 33 studios open and 83 sold to over 750 open and over 800 plus sold. On that team was also David Long, who's the founder of Orange Theory Fitness. So it was a great proving ground. There were a lot of really great people that came out of Massage Envy in those early days because it really was a lesson in how do you scale. None of us knew anything about franchising, which I think surprises a lot of people. Most of us hadn't been in franchising. The CEO hadn't. He built a massage business, and somebody walked in and said, "Is this a franchise? It should be." And from that, it was born. I followed that founder, became the CEO at The Joint, which was a chiropractic franchise as well. We grew there 3,000% in 3 years. And that was pretty significant growth, just being able to open them and, minimize that gap of how many were open and how many were sold, right? To make sure that we're consistently opening and opening up at that time anywhere from 15 plus a month, which at scale is pretty insane. Have always run teams really lean. So I can always appreciate really strong vendors, right? Like the conversations that I've had with Netsertive over the years have been really advantageous because you guys understand, right? That understand the need for a strong vendor and partnerships and relationships in this business. So I was able to continue to scale along and have been part of some really great brands, both in the fitness and wellness industry, as well as in beauty. It was an amazing lash studio. There we were 67 studios open, and second string management team kind of coming in to reshape the brand and present it for sale at 200 units. And that was within about 4 years. So it's been a really great ride. I love franchising for all the reasons that Dan said. I love to be part and partners with the franchise owners. I like to kind of dig through and understand the inner workings of the business. How do we bring it to the consumer? How do we stay lean at the unit level but be out in the community? I'm a big believer in not building a brand universally or globally for the sake of doing that. At the corporate level, it's the reason that franchising to me is so magical. It's because you have all these little labs and everybody is working to fine tune all the things that you come to the table with. And some of the best learnings are from the franchisees, right? Some of the best things I've ever been part of that people give me credit for creating came from franchise owners who had a good idea and sought help at the corporate level to bring that to life. So that's always been such an honor for me. And I think that, again, building at scale at the community level where consumers know you, right? That's the heartbeat of all of franchising. However, the caveat to that is just around pandemic, I was floating around my pool just before pandemic, kind of wondering what was my next big thing going to be. And I wanted to wait for the right thing. And I got pulled further into fitness. I had been in fitness with a brand that really was not as it kind of appeared. And so that was sort of a huge letdown for me to understand, right, that fitness is this incredible environment with so many brands and they're so competitive. You really have to choose the right one. And so I was on this mission to find the right one. And I had this great conversation with James Williams, the CEO and co-founder of Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, who is also part of Mayweather Fitness Holdings. Um, Mayweather Fitness Holdings, the portfolio company that's building Floyd Mayweather's name. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar, I feel like very few people are, but some people are still. Floyd is, of course, one of the greatest boxers of all time. He's the best ever in the sport. He retired at 50 and 0. He still does exhibition fights. He, beats up guys half his age, right? So to me, that's a testament for like longevity, right, in a fitness modality. And what better name than to be associated with? And so James and I talked pre-pandemic, and the day the pandemic shut the world down, we were just finalizing our agreement to bring me on. I had already accepted the job, and he said, "You know what? The world just shut down, and I'm sure our paths will cross again." So I had the great fortune to take on one of my happiest roles ever, working for Exponential Fitness during the pandemic and helping franchisees to keep their doors open and to not close when, masks were going to be required and people had to space out bikes at Cycle Bar. I went from Cycle Bar, Row House, and Stride and oversaw 3 of the 10 brands at Exponential Fitness on the marketing side in some capacity, either mentoring or as a CMO or as interim. And it's just something that I really loved, but it took me far away from my family. And James and I remained connected, and he reached back out and said, "Hey, you know what? We have a seat available." And wanted to know if you wanted to reconsider. And it was just, the right timing. It's always difficult to leave something that you love and that you're passionate about. But again, the appeal of being kind of hitching my wagon to another star was just kind of too hard to ignore. So here I am. We oversee 75 locations at Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. We have about 25 locations at Kick House. A lot of people don't realize that we acquired Kick House at the end of 2022, which also was sort of born in the fires of the pandemic, and was a rebrand from I Love Kickboxing. So it's a really unique opportunity because there are so many players in this space. It's a highly competitive space, and I'm a little competitive, so I'm drawn to it, and I really love it. So I've been really, really fortunate to be part of that. But I see such a huge opportunity for us to just own that boxing space. Certainly, nobody does boxing better than Mayweather, and if we can translate that to unit level success, to me, that's the most appealing, and that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Thanks, Dawn. And, I love hearing people's stories because I always said, I'm a corporate girly. My parents were both corporate, but there was something about making rich people richer that just didn't sit well with me. And that's why, I love franchising so much, because those people at the corporate level are working to make everyone around them better, and everyone, in their home office, the experience you bring to the table lifts everyone else up. And certainly you have the resume to prove that. So we will definitely come back to you, but I have to ask, have you met Floyd? Do your franchisees get to meet Floyd?
They do. They do. We're actually doing a dinner with Floyd event coming up. Some of our members won dinner with Floyd. Our owners have come out to meet him. He does appearances at studios every once in a while. Very last minute, hey Don, somebody's going to be up at a studio, and then the CEO is sort of making that happen. I have had the good privilege of meeting him. As a matter of fact, the backstory is that while James and I continued the conversation, he knew it would be impossible for me to leave my job. I just loved it. I loved it so much. But I was traveling every Monday morning to California, and I was traveling home every Thursday night. We had intended and were considering relocating, but so much had happened in that time in my family and with kids and sports and being where we are. He knew, and he invited me and my family out to meet Floyd. And Floyd sat there for 10 minutes showing me pictures of his grandson and talking about how much he loved family. And you could just see how proud he was of what he built. And, the one thing he's known for is he hires smart people. Right. He hires the right people in his corner, and he advances into businesses that, somebody with his level of education or lack of education certainly doesn't ever achieve. Right. And so you have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to work harder. You have to want it more. Those are things that really spoke to me. So I met him. I think he's incredibly lovely. I wouldn't say he's humble, but he's super gracious. I think it's hard to be humble when you've achieved that much, but he's super gracious and he's really lovely. And he's not, I think, what a lot of people see. Want him to smile more in photos. I did get to work on a shoot with him a few weeks ago, and he was amazing. And I'll be working with him again in a few weeks. So yeah, so we're getting a little bit closer to that working relationship, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say it was sort of a dream job. But really, the team that we have internally, from the outside looking in, you're like, oh, Mayweather, like they slapped his name on something, and they're just a bunch of people in fitness that nobody's ever heard of. They're solid. They're some of the best operations teams I've ever worked with, some of the greatest leadership I've ever had the honor of being in the C-suite with. So it's just a dream all around.
That's awesome. And yeah, I love that he's involved and you've met him and he's in the shoots, because a lot of times you see, like you said, they slapped a name on him or they've got a sponsored celebrity. And, with consumer trends, we're definitely, yeah, we'll see Ben Affleck on a Dunkin' commercial, but for the most part, people have gone over the hump of wanting to be a celebrity, and therefore everyone needs to use them. I think we have a little bit of more of a leveled out hierarchy because of TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and digital media. So it's really important, I think, to make note that when there is a name like Mayweather, and how actively he is, that is a testament to success all around. So we will definitely hear from Dawn again in a little bit. But next, I want to switch it up over to Craig Sherwood. This is a new concept. He is the CDO at Lumin Fitness. If you check out luminfitness.com, their website is incredible. It's very sexy. It's very tech forward. And they have one location and they are ready to rumble. So Craig, thank you for joining us. Talk to us about your story. Talk to us about why franchising, and what are the goals now? I'm sure everyone on this call is going, oh, I remember those days.
Thank you, Madeline. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I fell into franchising um, after my time in the military. I was an Army officer. I was recruited by Taco Bell to run operations for them. So started as a single unit general manager running a single Taco Bell and learning how to operate a small business from the ground up, from managing people to the P&L to late night nonsense in the drive-through, all of it. And it was a great understanding of what I would become later on in years, which is to partner with franchisees and really understand the business that they operate and how difficult it is. So it was a great learning experience for me, and that was all on the corporate side. So those were corporately owned Taco Bells, and then Pepsi made the decision in the mid '90s to sell company restaurants to franchisees. So I was involved with the M&A team at that point to sell over 1,900 company restaurants to franchisees over a 5-year period. And that's when I fell in love with the franchise business model, because as a franchisor, we were asking other people to use their money to build our brand. And that was a heck of an ask, and it was never lost on me. And felt like me and my team needed to put a lot of lean forward and really help out franchisees to make sure that they were going to be successful. As a lot of the speakers have said, this is, a lot of these folks, this is their family, this is their generational wealth. So I think we have to do a really strong job of making sure we represent them well in their support. So did franchising for many years with Yum, spent some time with Sonic Drive-In, and then in 2015 had just an amazing opportunity and fell into the CDO role at Gold's Gym, and had always spent my career on the restaurant side, as Dan mentioned earlier, making people fat, and now was paying for my sins at Gold's Gym, and just absolutely loved that brand and that business. It was, it's always been part of my lifestyle, and it fits so well. And I had the opportunity to work for a gentleman by the name of Brandon Bean, who's a tremendous leader, and took that brand at a really difficult time. We had a lot of difficulties with franchisees, had a very toxic relationship, and we spent a lot of time fixing that relationship and really making franchisees part of our brand again, and making sure that we recognize that even though we owned the brand, they built the legacy, and that was what was lacking. So we really leaned into that and improved the relationship, got the brand going in the right place, and then this little thing popped up called the pandemic, and changed the world. And so all 700 of our locations around the world were shut down, some for upwards of 6 months, and then our ownership took the brand through a bankruptcy, and I found my way towards Little Caesars and back in the restaurant industry again, but never lost my love and passion for the fitness industry. And so during that time, Brandon was working on this new concept. Didn't know what it was going to be called at that point, but we stayed in touch, and I committed to him, look, when you're ready to launch something, let's have a conversation, because I'd love to get back in the fitness industry. I've always loved what a great purpose the industry has in helping people achieve their potential through fitness. And at Gold's Gym, I had the unique opportunity to travel around the world and see how our brand impacted people's lives, not just physically, but mentally and in relationships. And it was just a phenomenal opportunity to see. So I wanted to get back into that. And a couple of months ago, Brandon reached out to go, we're ready to launch. The technology is sound, and we're ready to go with unit number 1. So we grand opened our first location 2 weeks ago, and been running ever since. And so we built this concept with two primary users in mind. One is the member. So we want to make sure that we're providing a fun and interactive and just a motivating fitness experience for the member. But then we also created this for our franchise partner. who we don't have yet, but we built this for them, and we want to provide a powerful business model where a lot of the headaches that we've learned through our time in franchising are handled by us. It's centralized, it's automated. Given the heavy technology background that our team has, we wanted to consolidate a lot of those tasks with us, so our franchise partner can focus on operating the business and running a great studio where there's a lot of hospitality involved. So that's what leads us to today. So Lumin is a boutique fitness studio that really fuses fitness and technology in a very unique way. So it's a high intensity functional training program where we use group fitness classes to go through this high intensity functional training. But what's unique is each person in the class has their own AI generated personal trainer. They hear their personal trainer through their headphones. That personal trainer provides motivation and coaching. And the really unique piece is that personal trainer, the AI trainer, sees all of their movement and makes real-time coaching feedback to the person, whether they're doing the exercise correctly, and make corrections so they can avoid injury, they can get the most out of the workout. So very, very unique, nothing like it. And we wanted to create something that was absolutely differentiated in the marketplace. And given the technology and how much work went into this, we've been working on this project for 4 years now. And it involved a team of fitness experts and technology experts, and particularly with gaming and immersive experiences. So one of our partners designs theme park attractions, immersive theme park attractions for places like Disney and Universal. So pulled all of that together, and now we've got our first location, and we're trying to get the word out and build brand equity and brand awareness.
Yeah, when Lauren on your team reached out and said, hey, what about, Lumin would like to raise their hand for your fitness summit. Typically on these, I go, new concepts, I want to talk to the Titans. And, obviously I had known who you were, and I looked at Lumin and I said, no effing way, because one, it was taking this AI and franchising to a whole new level. I played basketball growing up. I was in the weight room in like 3rd grade. When I retired, I told Dan, you cannot drag me to a gym. I don't know how I'm not 700 pounds yet. I'm sure it will happen, because nothing was striking my interest. I couldn't go to a gym and motivate myself because I have been so burnt out at that. And then there was no competition. And now I'm looking at this and I'm going, so not only do I get to go somewhere, it's got kind of that Peloton, you against yourself feel, but puts it more in a team aspect. And then, from my franchising hat, I go, holy shit, they just eliminated so much of their employment costs. So obviously I said, all right, Craig, you are in. And so tell me now, in terms of, this isn't just one of these new brands that someone had a dream. They're like, it's going to fill a niche. Like, you've been really putting your experience, your money, your time, and your team members to work. What do you see in terms of growth over the next 6 to 12 months? Because like you said, you've opened your first location. You are not new to this franchise development journey. What can we expect from Lumin, especially for people listening that might say, I want to raise my hand?
Yeah, no, great point, and appreciate the candor. I mean, having a single location doesn't make a franchise. And I've been with big companies and big brands my entire career, publicly traded, large, privately held. So this was certainly a departure. But, Brandon created this based on the vision that he had at Gold's Gym. And we struggled at Gold's Gym to differentiate ourselves in that big box space. Everybody has fitness equipment, or cardio and strength and weights and classes, but really the key differentiator was price. And when that's the differentiator, then it's a race to the bottom. And so Brandon constantly struggled with, how do you fuse how do you fuse fitness and technology and do it in a way that no one's ever done before? And so a lot of work's gone into this to really create what we've gotten today. And, you know, we see a path forward, certainly over the course of the next, 18 months. We easily see 15 plus locations opened. We have our flagship that we opened in Las Colinas 2 weeks ago. We're working on our first franchise location in Dallas. And given a lot of the buzz around our concept, we've had a lot of people reach out to us unsolicited. So a lot of folks that I've worked with in the past, both in food and in fitness, have reached out to us from around the world. And we have a lot of fairly sophisticated multi-unit, multi-brand operators in hotels, in other restaurant brands that really want to know more about this space. I mean, the boutique fitness space is strong, it's healthy, it's a $24 billion industry here in the United States annually. So there's lots of room for growth. And we think with a very differentiated product, we can get the franchise development engine moving pretty quickly. And we're in some final conversations with some pretty impressive groups here. Hopefully we'll be able to announce something over the course of the next several weeks.
Awesome. And I love the fact that you've taken into account all the demographics that need fitness while making it sexy for everyone. So my biggest thing is, my dad, who's 75 with AFib, isn't going to get on a bike, right? My mom, who's like 4 foot nothing, tiny little thing, is not going to Planet Fitness. She's just too embarrassed. So, but with this, my husband, I swear, he's like one of those people that like runs a marathon and then later you're like, you should have had a heart attack because you don't have a stop button. Like your heart rate is like 9,000. The fact that it's, the AI can make changes, based on your body, based on your output, for health reasons, I think is really something that's going to make Lumin last a long time, especially as a newer fitness concept where, boxing has been proven out, stretching has now proven itself out. With this AI model, you can say it's sexy, it's another one of these, what did Dan say? The sizzle. But health is not a fad. Everyone needs health and everyone is always looking for a better way to do that. So I think the fact that, like you said, playing into the technology is definitely something that's going to be a pillar and make you guys successful in the long run. Next up, we have Lori Merrill. So we're switching gears a little bit to Sola Salons. And when I first heard of Sola Salons, there's one down the street for me. I never got it. I never understood what it was. Like, what is it one salon with all these people? And then I walked into one and I said, holy shit, this is awesome, because you walk in and it's like you're in your own little, you could kind of see just an example here. You're in your own little neighborhood and everybody has their own miniature salon. They're all neighbors, they're friendly, but they all have their own client base. They're all their own business owners within your local franchise owner. So, the concept itself is really amazing. And Lori, thank you for joining us. I know you are a very sought after speaker. IFA has you speak all the time. So talk to me a little bit about how you got into franchising and why you've stayed.
Okay. Yeah. It's been about 15 or 16 years now, which I don't know what happens to time. And like Dawn said, we were back together in Massage Envy in the early-ish years. I was there from about 400 units to about 1,100 units. Then was in and I loved franchising. I loved to work with people who wanted to be entrepreneurs, who were looking for a way to invest their money and create their generational wealth and their legacies. I spent a few years at Bright Star Care, which is a home health. It's a territory-based business model, not brick and mortar. I kind of missed the real estate site selection side of it and got into Sola about 4 years ago. Sola is part of Radiance Holdings, is our platform company. We have another brand under that platform called Woodhouse Spa. which is different than Massage Luxe or Massage Envy. Woodhouse is meant to be a luxury spa like at the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton, but accessible in your neighborhood. I have a counterpart that does what I do for Woodhouse. It's definitely a luxurious experience. So if you live in Texas, in Nashville, in Atlanta, some places like that, and have a Woodhouse near you, it's worth exploring. But I love franchising. And one of the things about Sola that's it's kind of ironic, because Dan was saying it earlier, helping people become entrepreneurs. So as a Sola franchisee, you're not only becoming an entrepreneur, but you are empowering beauty professionals to be entrepreneurs. So in this picture of this hallway, as the franchise owner, you're taking space to build individually move-in ready studios to whom you are renting to beauty professionals to help them become entrepreneurs, to elevate their careers, and to have the freedom to control their environment. And it really is one of the things that our franchisees love most about it, aside from the fact that it's a low to no employee business model, which people who come from restaurants especially like it, because they don't have the employee problem, but their customer is that beauty professional. And it's really a great model. Some of the challenges of it, because you had asked earlier for us to talk about that, is that it is larger real estate. You are going to be looking for space in the 6,000 to 7,000 square foot range. It's not as easy to identify that, but it's not insurmountable. And we have probably just under 700 locations. We have only about 165 franchisees, so it is a very scalable model. And most of our owners own many more than one. So it's a multi-unit business model.
So, you say that it's little to no employees, but I know, some people who might not quite get the nuances here is there ever a concern for filling those salons then? Are finding those cosmetology entrepreneurs, stylists, you name it, is that an obstacle for you guys, or is that something that really just lends itself naturally?
It's like any business that you are marketing to get customers.
Sure.
So your customer is the beauty professional, and we have a lot of marketing to drive that. It's a B2B, so there's no consumer marketing. We're only marketing to beauty professionals. So we work and have a very robust integrated marketing program to help drive inquiries. And back in the early years when Sola started in 2004 and 5 and 6, it really stayed under the radar. They had to educate the market. What is this? And we're doing it in Canada now because it's newer there. So there is a little market education. But once people get it and they know, and most people who are going to lease a studio, your customer as the franchisee, have a book of business. They have a clientele that will follow them. And we have pretty high occupancy. I think our average national is about 90%.
Wow. And how did you guys fare during COVID? Were you forced to shut down? How did that affect you guys?
Yeah, like everybody else, we were, and it was stressful because you had these no revenue months. But in some ways, the demand, once things came back, has grown, and it still has grown. People want to be in private space. They want the one-to-one experience. So it has really created a lot of demand.
That's great. And what would you say it takes to become a Sola franchisee? What are those ideal qualities you're looking for? Because it is a little bit removed from the actual day-to-day of salons. It lends itself a little bit towards real estate, but it still has that franchisee feel. So what are those candidates you're looking for have in terms of qualities?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do look for people with business experience. We have quite a number, like Craig was saying, a lot of restaurant people coming into the brand who have franchise experience, but we like people to have business, real estate, property management experience, who are well capitalized.
Yeah, and to Dan's point, when you said I want to make sure, and what you just mentioned too, Lori, is making sure that the candidate is almost overcapitalized, because I know in our 4 brands that we own, none of the performers are right. They were all, you're going to make this much money. And I'm like, all right, well, let's knock that in half, because I work at the franchisor and I know for a fact that that's not right. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. And a lot of times, there's so much more investment that needs to be made. My last question for that, Lori, is because you're not doing consumer marketing and a lot of it is B2B, does their marketing spends and plans look different? Is there different deployment, or are you still seeing, similar kind of plans of action in terms of maybe it's direct mail, guerrilla marketing, digital marketing, just now targeted to different people?
Yeah, but it isn't as expensive as a brand where you're driving consumers every day. So you can really target it, and we have a national spend and we have some local spend, and the required spend is so much less than it is in a consumer brand. The other thing I wanted to mention in terms of a value proposition is that aside from the low employee or no employee, no on-site employees, so no cash in the location, and you have a very little risk of becoming obsolete because of technology, and you have no supply chain. So you don't have to order products, you don't have to carry anything, you don't have to deal with distribution. So it's a really simple business model that people are drawn to as a diversification for other more complex businesses that they may also want to be in. But those are some of the real values of this business.
Yeah, and I love that you say, there's very almost no supply chain, no inventory, no employees. Because I know a lot of franchisees on listening in that are looking to diversify their portfolio are going, well, those are my main headaches. So if I could just take those away, we're living the high life. So thank you, Lori, and we'll come back to you as well. And last but certainly not least, you know her, you love her. We've got Kristen Pahacek from Massage LuXE. She is the CGO. They've got over 70 locations, and she has been driving growth for how many years now? Have you been with them?
3 years. It's gone by fast. Yeah.
Kristen and I have always crossed paths in the speaking gauntlet, and I'm always amazed, at the clarity and insight she's able to bring. So, Kristen, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got to Massage LuXE, and why you believe so much in this brand. I think if anybody knows you, they know that you eat, sleep, and breathe Massage LuXE.
I sure do. And I eat, sleep, and breathe franchising. So I've been in franchising for 13 years. I actually started out on the franchisee side with the NFL. I was with the Minnesota Vikings for quite a few years early on in my career. Quickly realized that working in professional sports is a little like putting out a constant fire that keeps burning. And while I loved the exhilaration and crisis management and the energy that came along with that role, felt that I could provide more value to an organization that approaches things a little more strategically and less reactionary. So I ended up going to Self-Esteem Brands, which is a platform brand that operates Anytime Fitness. That's their largest brand, with 5,000 locations in 41 countries. But while I was there, we also acquired some smaller emerging brands, Waxing the City, The Bar Method, and Basecamp Fitness being 3 of the ones that were acquired when I was there. And it was a really unique opportunity for me because I led a shared services marketing department there that helped each of the brands in their demand generation on both the consumer and the franchise development side of the business. And so it provided me preview to see the emerging brands, whether it be 6 locations or 120 locations, and what it would take in order to get those locations off the ground. But then, of course, pairing that with what does it look like once you grow and you have 5,000 locations or you're in an international master development agreement. And so I got a breadth of knowledge and experience at that brand. I'm so thankful for my time there. And really found that health and wellness was a passion of mine. It's one thing to make a profit, but if you can do so while making a difference in your community, that sweetens the pot. And so I made the move in July 2020 to come over to Massage LuXE. And Massage LuXE has 81 locations open. We will pass the 100 mark in early 2024, which is fantastic. We're a membership-based massage and facial spa. We're all about helping people prioritize their self-care in a way that fits within their daily routine. So whether that be dropping the kids off at soccer practice and taking advantage of one of our services, or even coming in on a lunch break, we want it to be extremely easy for you to care for yourself through regular massage and facial services. This translates throughout our entire business model. Things like no contracts, no enrollment fees, luxurious setting, but accessible and affordable pricing, all centered around really that health and wellness of the consumer and making a difference in their lives.
And you have landed in one of the most highly competitive spaces. So what makes Massage LuXE different? Because I'm sure a lot of times, I'll go on a business trip and I'll be like, oh, what massage place is near me? Now, I'm not the ones that's going to the independents. I can't say the same for like a Robert Kraft, but with a Massage LuXE, if I've got Massage LuXE, Massage Envy, Elements, why do people navigate towards your doors?
Yeah, so it's a great question. When I think about brand as a marketer, brand could mean many things to whoever you ask, whether that be a logo, a promise, a positioning, a product, a service, etc., right? But at the end of the day, a true brand is the sum of all experiences that you have with that company. And it's really the sum of all experiences that our clients have with Massage LuXE, which differentiates us from the competition. It's kind of like the difference between walking into a Walmart and a Target. At the end of the day, they're both mass merchant retailers, but the way that they go about their mass merchant retailing is vastly different, from customer service, from the design. Those are things that are intangible that really do make a difference in the consumer experience. But if you are looking for that tangible thing, really the way that we structure our contracts allows our clients to experience multiple services with us really easily. You don't have to commit in your membership to just getting a massage or getting a facial. You can bank up your services and get 2-hour massages or increase services, etc. We have things like a LuXE lounge, which allow our clients to relax and kind of reset before their services, something that our competition doesn't have. Those clients have to sit out in the lobby and hear people checking in and out before their services. And things like the HydroLuxe table, which allows people to get a water massage, a dry water massage before or after their service.
So outside of, that and the fact that you're able to, I love what you said about the brand being a sum of everyone's experiences and making sure it's not just that one offer, it's not this new product. It's the continual and consistency. Massage is obviously such a long-standing industry. Do you see it still evolving? Do you see it still growing? I would say for home cleaning, I'd love to say that it's still growing, but I think in the past years, it's kind of plateaued. People get it, people need it, and the people that want it get it, and the people that don't. Sure, there is a level of, consumer education and branding you always have to do. Do you see that same thing in massage, or is it continuing to grow because we've really seen a recent focus, especially since COVID, on self-care?
Yeah, so what I love about the business that I work in is that there's always going to be that steady drumbeat. Massage has always been there, to your point. It's a crucial part of health and wellness, and we're always going to beat that drum. But what's great about this business model, especially having the facial side in it as well, is that there are new trends or new emerging services that we can add in, whether that be the electric guitar or the tambourine or whatever, right? You build the band. And so with the facial side of the business, there's a tremendous amount of innovation that can occur within our spa. And then on the body side too, I mean, we've heard about stretching today, and different add-ons in your massage experience can really, take the innovation on the side of the business to a point where you are increasing basket size and staying up with the times. So we'll always stay core to our business, which is massage, but we've certainly innovated in multiple ways and will continue to do so as clients come across new ways to better their health and wellness.
I love that. Thank you, Kristen. And, we're going to get into, I think now our overarching conversation. But before we do that, Marianne Murphy had a question for Lori. Does Sola have programs to help their salon clients with marketing, or is that all on the tenant?
Oh, I'm so glad that question was asked because I was thinking, oh, I wish I touched on that. Yes, we have a lot of technology and support and tools for the beauty professionals. It's the way we differentiate ourselves from some of the others in the category. So we have an app for them with exclusive educational content. We have another tool that they could take advantage of, which will drive customers to them, sort of like Open Table does for restaurants. So we do have a lot of resources, podcasts and blogs and things to educate them on, okay, you're an independent business owner now. How do you raise your prices? How do you save for retirement? So we do have a lot of resources for the pros.
That's great. And yeah, it's another piece of the franchising puzzle that a lot of people don't realize is, even though, you have your franchisees, they're only as successful as their, salon clients, or what do you guys call them? Do you call them
Beauty professionals?
beauty professionals? So supporting them is just as important as supporting your franchisee. It's very much a two-way or three-way street if you include the home office in that as well. Dawn, I'm gonna point it back to you because you've been in all of these different fitness industries. And for boxing, it seems like something that has always been around, but never quite took the front stage. And the only reason I say that is because I think that people get intimidated by the term boxing. They think Rocky, they think I'm a black guy. We watched, I don't know, I think we watched Creed the other day, and my husband all of a sudden brought up like a 75-pound, a single dumbbell, and was like, I'm going to get ripped and I'm going to be a boxer. Well, I was like, oh, God. So talk to me a little bit about what that's like in your shoes, and how do you make sure that you're educating not only the franchise candidates, but the consumers that boxing is so much more than just fighting?
Yeah, so I think that that's a great question, and it's an astute observation that I did not realize until I was a few weeks into the job, where I was like, this is intimidating, and people are afraid to try it, right? Which is, it comes with good and bad, right? Don't you want to be with like Floyd? Well, people, and you had touched on it too before, Madeline, when you were talking about Lumin, right? It's that me against me, right? There's a certain demographic, and when you go into boutique fitness, right, there is that community engagement that's super important that cannot be it can't be substituted, right? A lot of people have access to all sorts of technology. We use PIQ, like Performance IQ, integrates with our systems too, right? But there is that level of community where what we saw initially was, and I said this pre-pandemic on podcasts, that people were waiting to go back to businesses, and that fitness would come back last, but it'd come back the strongest because people have a need for connection, accountability, being held responsible for doing those things that we all know it's good for us. We all know we should work out, but there is a level of intimidation that comes with boxing, especially when you're like, here's Floyd and he's ripped and don't you want to be Floyd? I just want to like get through my day, right? I want to get through like my business and my kids and my I just want to like get through the day. Can you get me through the day? Like I have to wake up at like 4:30 in the morning in order to get a workout in the morning. It's got to move me, and it's got to engage your mind and your body. What's really interesting is that, one of the monikers of the brand, and one of the pillars of the way that Mayweather has represented what he does and what differentiates us, is that tough times don't last, tough people do. Right. If you have that core foundation, that desire to win, that champion mindset. And so we've integrated Mayweather mindsets into to kind of get people first mentally, right, attuned with that type of a workout. And the other thing is it's not hand-to-hand combat. So we admittedly still have work to do so that the consumers understand that this is boxing fitness. It's not boxing. We actually have a non-boxing class too that's functional fitness focused. So there are bags, but there are some classes without bags. There are definitely stations that we're not using a bag. We're doing body weight. We're doing weights, right? Eventually we're going to introduce some other types of workouts. What's unique about it is that, yes, people equate boxing with one of the best workouts you will ever have, but it's not easy. And so I think that where we really are right now is, when you talk about brands evolving, it's the evolution of, it's not just boxing, it's boxing fitness. It's being so fit that you could go that many rounds, right? Maybe not with Floyd himself, but that, and it's tapping into that champion within all of us. And I think that the evolution of it too is in boutique fitness. Again, it's consumable. It's challenging, but it's doable. And that's our sweet spot. And I think that it's been really interesting because, like you said, when I went to meet with James, the CEO, years ago, I said, well, look at Exponential, because they had already been in my ear. And I said, look at Exponential. They've got, at the time, 8 brands. There was no Rumble, which is boxing. And there was no Fit Body Boot Camp, which is sort of circuit based, similar to a portion of what we offer. And I was looking at it and saying, but they don't have boxing. Like, why? If you think this is so great, like, how do you bring this to the consumer? Sure, it was great for Floyd. And I think what's true time and again is that it's sustained because it is the most significant full body workout you could possibly put your body through. And the level of conditioning that you get as a boxer or from boxing technique, that the hand-eye coordination, right? The body movements, the full body and full muscle engagement, I think is hard to come by in another environment that delivers as much of an impact or as high of a burn. And you can see that with kickboxing too, right? Where it's just slightly different. It's a shift to the modality, but that's like fight physics, right? And there's actual fight physics behind that type of a workout that delivers results. And you can go to all of these community environments, and some of them are so fun. There are some boxing workouts there in the competitive space that are fun, but do they turn out the same results? And so it does kind of become a matter of, yes, fitness came back really strong, but what are people seeking from fitness? Is it emotional? Is it fun? Is it community? Is it results, right? And everybody finds their thing, right? Your CrossFitters are gonna not necessarily go and do like Zumba, right? Like, right, they're going for fun, and they're going for engagement, they're going for community and something they can do. So it's about finding that sweet spot, I think, and again, peeling back the curtain to let people know, like, it's not boxing, like combat boxing. You're not going to get hit. We have one franchisee who was super cute, and a general manager who's like, we get you fit, not hit, which I love. I was like, I might have to steal that. I'm gonna steal that.
I love that. And you brought to light a very important piece of the fitness, wellness, beauty industry, is that it's not just as simple as giving the consumer what they want. If someone signs up with one of my franchises, they want their mosquitoes killed. There is no educational, physical, emotional, like, they just don't want to get bit by mosquitoes, right? If you're going into a Taco Bell, you get to choose what you want, but ultimately you want to get fed. With the fitness and wellness specifically, there are a multitude of reasons why people spend their money to go. And it's really finding that piece and making sure you're speaking to all of those messages at once. And Dan, I want to kind of bring it to you because your target market varies greatly from, people who cannot tie their shoes to professional athletes who just need, a little bit more help or a little bit more attention. So when it comes to marketing, whether it's franchise candidate or consumer, how much does that educational awareness come into play? How much spend, and I don't mean numbers of dollars, but holistically, how much effort and money are you putting into that educational piece rather than just that direct sell?
Well, originally we had to do some education just to let people know that paying for stretching is a thing, and practitioner assisted stretching, we do it for you. And that's kind of in our rear view mirror now, which is great because we have so many locations, and there are even people coming up trying to emulate what we're doing. But we also, our marketing department has done a fantastic job of kind of reaching out to those silos of people, because like I said, we're really big with golfers, tennis players, pickleballers, senior citizens, and hardcore athletes. So we've had promotions specifically based around helping your golf game, or preventing injuries for pickleball, because a lot of people, this is the first time they're getting athletic again, and they could go as hard as they want, but we see so many people pulling their calves or doing something to hurt themselves, and then it hinders them and they're not in the game anymore. But we also did a fall prevention program for seniors, just to kind of strengthen them, help them, be more flexible in the right ways, and then also make them cognizant of what they could do to make sure that they were less susceptible to falling. So yeah, we have that really wide variety of people that come in. Our marketing department has really kind of honed in. The other thing that helps is we do a lot of digital marketing, which I love because I get to know some of their interests as well. So if they're into pickleball, fantastic. We send them little digital pickleball assets. If they're senior citizens, they're going to be on Facebook. We'll find them there, and we get to reach out to them and let them know, hey, get up off the couch, come on in. A lot of those people come in and they see us as if they were going to the gym. They don't do anything athletic at all, but
Sure.
they come to us, they lay on the table. And one thing about us is you lay on the table, you don't get sweaty. You're not doing any work. We just ask you to lay there. We do all the work. So it works great because people can come at lunchtime, of course. But people come in, they lay down, they get up, and they act like, oh, that was a great workout. Let's go to happy hour. And they can go right there because you don't get sweaty. You don't need a shower.
I love that. Yeah. And I like that, you are bringing to light that the educational piece is just as important as where to find people. Like you said, the older generation, they're on Facebook, and that's what we need to do. So it's always explaining the why in fitness, kind of, going off of what Dawn said, I don't have to explain why you need your house clean. You need your house clean, but you in the fitness, you have to explain it. So Craig, what do you anticipate in terms of that educational layer that Lumen's going to have to do to really get consumers excited, get the buy-in? I'm sure it'll be a membership model, because people understand fitness, they understand tech, they don't really get AI. What do you anticipate in terms of, is it going to be a lot of marketing spend on the national side? Is it going to be a slow build? Do you see it exploding? What do you anticipate there?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think, from a marketing standpoint right now, we're just hyper focused on unit number one and canvassing that particular area, and getting people just to understand who we are. Lumin doesn't have brand equity at this point. And even as you explain it to people and you say it's an AI generated coach or in a group setting, there's still a disconnect. But when you get people into the studio and they see and they interact with we have a 40-foot long, 9-foot high LED screen. When they get in front of that and they start to interact, they get it. And so we targeted, from a consumer standpoint, we targeted kind of digital natives, that kind of 20-year-old to 40-year-old that grew up with a phone in their hand, very tech savvy, very digital savvy. We felt like that was probably going to be our key target market, and people that understand and are in search for a great fitness experience. What we found, though, is it's much broader than that. We're finding folks that have come in that are older, that are maybe not necessarily in the kind of shape that they want to be, but we're offering a safe space because it's dark. You have your own personal trainer in the form of AI, so you don't have someone calling you out in a group. Your training and your corrections are all in your head, and no one else knows what's going on. And it's hyper personalized. So you get to select, look, I'm not really feeling those squats today. I need a different movement, and you can customize that. So that's really where I think we're going to play is just that broader connection with people and their fitness needs. And we're just going to do it very organically, one studio at a time. And then as we build kind of, our brand out, then we'll be able to do more targeted marketing, in a broader sense. And hopefully at some point in the not too distant future, we'll be able to do something nationally from an advertising standpoint.
Craig, I'm excited to see how you grow. And I'm also excited to see the data. I'm wondering, as you guys grow, because you're going to have so much personal, well, I don't want to say personal data to make you sound creepy, but all of this, combined data, I'm wondering, like, in Texas, do they prefer squats? And in Boston, do they prefer running? Like, I'm sure that you're going to start seeing trends there. So that'll be, very, very interesting to see as well. And, talking about those individual personal needs of every consumer. Kristen, you've done this a million times over on the dev side, talking about, personas. So talk to me about how important it is on both the dev and consumer side to have those personas built out. Dan touched on it, sending the little pickleball aspects to those people. But I talk to a lot of people in Fran Dev and they go, oh, it's never high on the priority list to build those out. But I think just as important as it is for our consumers, whether you're targeting 80-year-olds or 18-year-olds, it's just as important in that, candidate lifestyle. So talk to me about your mindset there.
Yeah, it's absolutely important. And in many of our cases, we're seeing, multiple types of buyers, and we're in the health and wellness space, which means some of those buyers are going to be more purpose driven. They're going into this business because they want to make a difference in people's lives and in their community. And, they come from backgrounds where they've chosen careers in which they've made a difference, right? Maybe they're doctors or physical therapists or in health and wellness, nurse, whatever. You're going to talk to those folks much differently than you're going to talk to the person who's coming in more on the business side of things. And maybe they've been in IT or a lawyer or an accountant, etc. And having the personas down for those that you're marketing your franchise opportunity for is key so that you can play up the areas of your opportunity and align them to what that person's goal may be. And this, of course, should be within the talk tracks in your sales team, but also within marketing collateral too, right? When you're sending out your triggered emails and texts and creating collateral or even advertising in print, for example, you're going to want to say things different than what you may say to a person who's purpose driven versus a person who is looking at this from a business perspective. And demographics is one thing, but if you've been in marketing, which many of you have for a long time, it's the psychographic too that you really want to pay attention to. I often tell my franchise owners when they're in discovery day and we're talking about real estate site selection and marketing that yes, of course we want to pay attention to demographics, but the psychographics are really what brings things to life, what makes that person that person. And the reality is we could all be selling to somebody who is older than 60, who has 3 dogs, 3 kids, was born in England, high wealth, right? But at the end of the day, if we strip it back, both Ozzy Osbourne and King Charles fit into that demographic data. We can all agree we would sell a car differently to Ozzy than we would to King Charles. And so really peeling back the layers to decide what motivates your clients or your prospective franchise buyers will help to ensure that you're meeting them where they're seeking support.
And when you're coaching your team on these, specifically franchise development reps, what is your advice there? Because as much as you can put it in writing, it's the person to person communication that means the most. So are you coaching them on things to say? Like you explained talk tracks a little bit. So give me a little bit more detail on that. I'm sure a lot of people are interested in more of these details.
Yeah, so I don't think it's rocket science. I think the question becomes to the candidate, why are you interested in doing this? Why are you interested in it? Are you building a legacy for your children? Are you fulfilling a sense of purpose? Are you looking to semi-retire or maybe perhaps even fully retire? Are you looking to exit the business in 10 years and then retire? Like, what is your main motivation for looking at us? And then you need to cater your discussion and your planning with that franchisee all the way through the process of them purchasing the franchise. And I do think that on the franchise sales side of things, a lot of franchise brands shy away from that. What's the end goal conversation, because they want that candidate to be a franchisee forever with the brand and to ride off into the sunset. But as franchise development leaders or marketers, you need to be okay with what that end goal is so that you're setting expectations for how to get them to that end goal right from the onset, right? And so, of course, yes, that team that sells franchises within Massage LuXE is talking about that right up front, and I think that everybody should.
I love that you brought that to light. I think most of the veteran franchisors that I talk to agree is no one wants to own a business forever. A lot of the times it's to sell it for more money than you bought it for, right? So having that conversation up front is super important. And also, you're going to coach these franchises differently. If someone wants a legacy to leave it to their kids and so on, or if someone who's like, after my first FDD contract, I'm looking to flip it. So you're definitely going to coach those differently as well. Lori, my question to you is, because your candidates are more B2B, but also are dealing with people very heavily, what type of messaging does that look like on your franchisor side? Because you want to find people who are, almost great with consumers because they're dealing with people, but might be a little bit, to your point, more business minded. We're dealing with real estate where it's B2B. So, does the messaging look different from a corporate standpoint, and do the talk tracks, to what Kristen said, look different from your dev team as well?
Well, from the franchisee side and how they work with their beauty pros to drive occupancy is different than how we talk to prospective franchisees. So I'll talk about the first thing first. We do the personability, the ability to connect with people is critical. So if you're a franchisee who doesn't have that skill set, you need to bring somebody in who does. Because it's a pretty simple business model, most people do it themselves until they're maybe at 3 or more units, and then they'll hire a leasing manager. But the leasing manager and the ability to connect is everything in this brand. And so we coach them on know yourself. Are you the guy that's going to be able to convert a prospective tenant, let's call it that, because that's what it is. So that's one thing. And then on the franchise development side, same thing that Kristen said, it's basic, ask questions, get to know somebody. Don't do all the talking, let them do all the talking, and then find a way to weave the goals that they shared with you back into the process, and who, make sure that they're doing this for the right reasons and it does match their goals.
And then, once you find that person, they're filling, the tenants or what have you. Do you find that there is a high level of competition with independents when it comes to Sola? Or, who are your direct competitors? Because I think that your competitors can come from all over the map, right? They can have the big salons, the other chains, the independents, the people that go to your house. So who is your main competitor, if any, really?
Yeah, our competition is not traditional salons. In fact, we base our real estate and site selection on markets that have salon density, because the customer for your location is coming from there. Our competition are other salon studio concepts. And there are a few out there for sure, and they all offer something great. And this category is very huge now. So we attempt to differentiate ourselves, aside from the fact that we are the leader of the category with all of the support and the technology I described earlier, to be, if I'm a hairstylist, why should I lease at Sola versus some mom and pop or, Salons by JC or one of the other competitors? So same way Massage LuXE has to differentiate from Massage Envy, and we do from the other studio concepts are our competitors.
That's great to hear, and definitely different, I think, in the home services. Sorry, I keep referring to them because that's really all I know in terms of the franchisee side, is where our main competitors are more independents rather than other franchise entities. Because for us, we're all trying to educate on bonded and insured and XYZ. So it's interesting to hear for you guys, it's almost the opposite. And that kind of leads me into the last question for everyone, and we'll kind of go down the list here as we come up on time, is, Dan, what do you think needs to evolve in the fitness industry, what are you hoping to change? What are you looking forward to Stretch Zone, achieving other than just, unit growth or more units, in the industry? What do you see coming down, that path as we evolve as a society?
I think number one, I mean, it feels great to be part of people getting healthier and being able to live their lives more and do whatever they want to do as long as they can. When I was a kid, people hit 60, they used to sit in the chair with the remote if they were lucky enough to have that remote, or they would start knitting. People don't do that anymore. People spend their entire life accumulating the wealth that they worked so hard for. Now they want to live and enjoy that, and it's fantastic. My dad, for example, 83 years old, just got his 8th and 9th holes in one. I mean, he's not sitting around just watching TV. So that's awesome. The other thing is when it comes to franchising, I think what really helps us and what I'd love to see throughout the industry is focus on franchisee success and unit level economics. It should be what franchising is about. It's the easiest thing to do. Anyone can make something look sexy, but you need to make sure that franchisee makes money, the bottom line. Otherwise, if they can't make as much as they would make with it just sitting in a money market account, what are we doing this for? It's just a lot of work and you're just kind of dog paddling. So I really enjoy helping people be successful, and that's why it was such a good fit for me here. And I'm glad to see, or I'm hoping to continue to see the IFA, for example, supporting good franchisors and actually speaking out against bad actors.
Thank you, Dan. And Craig, what about you? What are you looking forward to? I should say, I don't really need to ask you this question because you are one of the ones that are evolving the space, but what are you looking forward to outside of just, brand growth?
Yeah, I think it's so critical that all of us in this industry really make sure that people understand how important health and wellness is. People want to look good, and we can't take a pill to that to get there. And I think we're losing some of that. Our obesity levels are rising far too high. Our military can't staff their roles because we can't find people that are physically qualified to become soldiers and Marines. And so I think we as an industry have to evolve and really turn up the heat. We are asking people to pay us money to inflict some level of pain on them. I get that. But it's important.
Kristen goes, I am not.
Some of us do. Some of us have to do that. But I just think from an evolution standpoint, I think it's important, again, as an industry that we really get our message out there. We engage people where they are, but we're unapologetic about it. This is about health and wellness, and there's no easy way to get there.
And what about you, Dawn?
Yeah, so I would say because we're in such a hyper competitive space, it's really just understanding how to shorten that path to purchase and how to connect with the consumer best and quickest. There's just so much noise. It used to be that you would Google something before Google, you'd go and you'd search and you'd even look on Yahoo and you'd get all sorts of things and you'd go down this rabbit hole of information you don't need. Now there's so much information, and AI has made it and algorithms have made it so that you can get the information right away. Question is it trustworthy, right? Is it the right information? Is it exactly what you seek? And to Kristen's point too, right? It's about that psychographic. It's about connecting with the absolute right person at that right time. I think one of the unique things that everybody on this call has in common, for the most part, on the wellness, the fitness, and the beauty side, is that these are emotional buys, right? They're emotional buys, and right, as we talked about, people's needs change, what draws them to a business changes, and we can't be all things to all people. You really have to understand exactly who your core demographic is and who has a need and what need you fill. Right? It's too easy in this space to be like, we fill every need, right? They're going to just walk in and they just need a massage and they want to feel good, but there's something that compelled them. And so I think shortening that path to purchase and remembering that the consumer has so many options now, you really have to stand out to be the best option. I think that that's going to be the one thing that we really have to work towards and to evolve more.
See, this is why I have you guys talk, because I was trying to say that, and there was no world in which I was going to be able to say it that well, but I completely agree. Kristen, what do you want to add to that?
Oh man, you guys, you nailed it. Don, you did a really good job. I was kind of right within my talk track here. I think if I can just reiterate, know who you are and who you are for, and continue to talk to those people about why you may be the right choice for them. And so that what I would say has been really easy with digital marketing, but we also have been very spoiled by digital marketing in that many of us put all of our eggs in that basket. And let me just give a reminder that digital works harder when you're pairing it with other forms of messaging. So we're never going to abandon what really works, but we can always make it stronger by really making sure that our franchisees are approaching their marketing strategy in a diversified way, and that us at the national level, by the way, both for consumer and franchise development, are doing so as well.
Awesome. Yeah. And I love your point of, digital can either make other aspects stronger or vice versa. It really, even if you're putting 99% of your spend there, there's so many other aspects outside of just the money that you're putting down that makes your brand what it is. And to your point, a sum of all experiences. And Lori, bring us home. What can we expect from Sola, your industry in the coming years and months?
Well, I think that there's a lot of room for this business. I think a lot of people are going independent who never did before. Back in the early years, we were, 90% hair. Now we have a lot of different modalities. So I think entrepreneurship is alive in all of our industries, and our customers at Sola are also becoming entrepreneurs and connect with people. Connect with people, get to know them, be personal with it.
I love that. Guys, thank you so much for coming on and giving us an hour and a half of your time. I really appreciate the insights. For all of our candidates that are listening in, you can connect with any of our fabulous panelists on LinkedIn. I can send you their email. And of course, you can visit their websites as well. And next week at the same time, we have part 3, which will be Hammer and Nails, The Drip Bar, Hand and Stone, and Franworth, who has a couple, or I should say 4 health and wellness brands under there. So I will give you 4 minutes back of your time, but you guys, thank you again. And we look forward to watching you grow.
Thanks so much, everyone.